Well, I never thought I'd have to make a video like this, but I've been banned from submitting to TedX opportunities for their platform, to use their brand, to be part of their offerings. I was invited by a regional TedX group to submit because of the work that I've done on the adjunct life, how much adjuncts make, how important they are, how significant they are in higher education today, and how I've been so blunt and straightforward with it. So I thought, wow, they're paying attention. They want to hear what so many of you and I have been saying about the adjunct life. And then I received a reply from the committee which told me that, well, this really wasn't what they had in mind. Now, mind you, this TEDx opportunity was about the future of higher education and the role of teaching and its professional capacity. So this wasn't just tell us something about your why. This was something about, tell us about something that, well, is about higher education and about adjuncts and about teaching and about how much professional money is at stake. So I thought, this is my chance. I'll be able to get myself out there in TEDx world. Well, it turns out that the reply said, no, we really, even though we invited you to make this offering to us, we really don't think this is appropriate, and we suggest that you avoid submitting for opportunities in the future. Okay, being banned by a local TEDx group, a regional group, because they don't like you, maybe you took somebody's job one time and it's an adjunct, or you're teaching, or somebody just decides, no, we don't like the way you're presenting the material. Fine, I'm good with that. But then I received a follow-up from a colleague I had some professional association with in the past, and he said, I need to apologize. He said, well, I've been pushing for you to be part of this. I was part of the review committee. Let's offer this. They offered about a handful of people invitations, and he said, every single one of the people who got an invitation to submit a proposal for a TEDx presentation at this regional conference was accepted, except you. Okay, so I'm special, but not in a good way. Then he said, I need to tell you what happened. We looked at the video, we looked at the clips that you offered, we looked at the material you offered, and then some of the members of the review committee started looking at other videos on YouTube, the kind of things that you look at. And they said, you know what, it's too honest, it's too direct, it's too transparent. Yes, it's too much. And I heard that they told you don't bother submitting opportunities in the future. He said, they don't do that. Well, they did with me. So what I'm going to do is I'll share with you just the clips that I collected and I submitted to them about higher education, because I thought it was germane. I thought it fit. You know, maybe if I missed the subject, maybe if my topic and their topic didn't line up, completely understandable. I've submitted to dozens of higher ed conferences and professional conferences in the past where I wanted to talk about one thing, they wanted to talk about another thing. Sometimes they're like, okay, and other times they're like, no, you didn't read the prospectus, you didn't read the guidelines. I get that. But this was spot on. Why? Well, because they said, well, we want to talk about the future of higher education, its value, its perception among students, and its professional and economic stability. Well, considering that over 70% of all coursework today in higher education in for-profit and nonprofit areas are taught by people who are adjuncts, temporary, contract workers, seasonal workers, but are not tenured full-time faculty. I figured 7 out of 10 courses taught by people like me, like you, like so many, whether you are an adjunct or whether you're part of higher education, justifying paying people in order to survive in a way that takes advantage of the oversupply of higher education opportunities for teachers. There is an oversupply. There are 10 of us for every open job if we were to apply for it. I stopped applying for full-time employment in higher education like 20 years ago. Basically when I went just adjunct and I decided to do it for my own reasons. But I figured that was a great reason, and no one else, my friend, my colleague on the review board said, no one else is going to talk about it because, well, it's just too much. So I want to share with you those brief clips, and then I want you to stick around because I have a favor to ask you and I have a story to tell you about a famous and influential educator in the 20th century that I figured, well, maybe on our side in this. So here are the clips, and stick around, and I want to ask a favor. Okay, this one might be a tough sell, but I want to make a case for adjuncts, adjunct instructors, for their value to you in your degree programs. In most higher ed professional programs, You're better off having a course taught by an adjunct instructor than by a full-time tenure-track professor. There, I said it. With almost 75% of higher ed coursework taught by adjuncts, and the problems of exploitation at the hands of colleges, universities, and professional schools, and the altruistic professors who pretend to care and protect the rights of the adjunct, all the while making it even more difficult for an adjunct to even make a living today, you're better off with the value add of an adjunct teaching your course. You are going to gain more real-life help from an adjunct teaching your courses. Hey, I admit this is not a popular idea, and it won't be popular with all my adjunct buddies, but let me make a case for it and see what you think. Now, I've done my best to point out the exploitation and abuse of adjuncts in higher education, professional, profit, for-profit, nonprofit schools, and yet for all the wannabes in the adjunct world, we still sign up and say, yes, please. Yes, colleges or universities can pay 4 or 5 adjunct instructors the national average of about $3,500 per course. And that adds up to $1,750, maybe $20,000 out of pocket for the college or university. But that saves them $60,000 compared to the average $80,000 they'll pay a full-time tenured professor to teach the same number of courses. But there's another side to this story, the story of adjuncts, that benefits all of us. And here it is. You're better prepared for real life, for professional life, when most of your courses are taught by adjuncts. This kind of adjunct doesn't complain about the lack of compensation because they don't make a living by being an adjunct. In fact, they don't even aspire to be a full-time academic because if they did, they would take a huge pay cut. But these professionals who serve as adjuncts are the greatest value add that you need to take advantage of in your higher education program, because at your college or university, you will have courses taught by adjuncts, and they're the ones to connect with. They're the ones who will get you an opportunity for a career, for that first job, to get started and to discover what kind of earning potential you have in the real world. And my value add is that I've been someone who's made a living within those fields. Yes, I teach from a textbook, but what I talk about in class is what to do with the knowledge they get from that textbook. And I use real life examples and anecdotes because I have become the professional who also serves as an adjunct. Okay, obviously that's way too much for higher education to handle. Transparency? No, you wouldn't expect that of people who are committed to teaching people to think critically in order to create people who are valuable in the workforce and for the future of our, you get the idea. So here's the story I want to tell you. See, I work at an institution now called Elmhurst University, formerly Elmhurst College, and one of its famous figures in the 20th century, a president, alumnus, was a man named Reinhold Niebuhr. And Reinhold Niebuhr wrote a book. Now, he was a famous, influential political and theological thinker, so much so that when Barack Obama was running for president, he said, yep, Reinhold Niebuhr, he's my man. And even James Comey, the former FBI director, used the handle in order to hide his, things he shouldn't be doing, but used the handle at Reinhold Niebuhr on Twitter in order to get his thoughts out. Yeah, he was obsessed with Reinhold Niebuhr too. And Reinhold Niebuhr was at one time the most influential, sort of Time Magazine Man of the Year kind of thing, figure in the 20th century. Now, most of you probably never heard of him unless you're in those small circles that some of us travel in. Reinhold Niebuhr wrote a book called Moral Man and Immoral Society. And he said, no matter how good we are, when you put enough of us together, when we reach critical mass, in order to sustain what it is that we've become together, the immoral society part of the Moral Man and Immoral Society title, he said, we will do things that are immoral in order to sustain our social cohesion, the institutionalism of it. So higher education has actually become like the military-industrial complex or like the gaslighting and misinformation that's taking place in social media today. Higher education has become a self-protecting institution, an immoral society that is trying to keep us from ever questioning or bringing to light or giving a platform to those who are interested in being too real, too honest, too direct, too transparent about what really is happening in higher education, especially when it comes to people who are doing the teaching, doing the work, what used to be the work of higher education, and that is instruction. So, hey, that brings me to my favor I want to ask of you, and that is, if you've ever found my videos, some of them have gotten thousands of views, others just a couple hundred views, and some of you have become followers, subscribed to the channel, and I really appreciate it. One of the ways to fight against the gaslighting that takes place, whether it's from TedX or other sources, is to be able to say, hey, this is something that I like. This is something that I want other people to become part of. And what I'm going to ask you to do as a favor is to copy and paste the URL from one of the videos that I've done on the Do-Over show, and to share it with just a friend, just one. You don't have to go wild. You don't have to spam people, and just give them, say, hey, this is a video I thought you'd be interested in. I thought you'd like, just share it. You can share it from the platform itself, or do old school. I know some of you boomers like it, where you copy and paste the URL. That's where I went there right away. I know who you are. Yeah, I got you, boomer. Hey, and in the meantime, I've taken stock of the videos that have done well, that you have liked, and commented. And I have to tell you something, and I'm very proud of this, and that is that if you've left a comment, and thousands of you have left comments on one of the hundreds of videos that I've done this past year and the year before, I've answered each and every comment that you have left or question that you have asked. And many of you have reached out to me personally through YouTube, and you've made contact with me, and we've tackled issues that are of significance or importance to you. Some of you, we've been able to work through some problems together. Others, reevaluate where you are in your career and your do-over. And still others, maybe figure out, how can I help other people see these things? You can help them by sharing the video. So please, while you're down there sharing the video, remember, if you're subscribed, fantastic. If not, why not? Subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. And I'll keep being too honest, too direct, and too transparent with you in the next year ahead. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.